Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to climb a ladder of ideas, starting with something familiar and ending up somewhere, well, somewhere that questions the very source code of existence itself.
We're all pretty used to the idea of forecasting, right? Predicting the weather, the stock market, you name it. But let's start with a thought that's a little more provocative.
And this question, this is really the heart of our journey today. The idea that the future isn't some fixed story we're destined to read, but maybe it's more like a first draft, a draft that can be actively edited. We're about to climb through some seriously mind-bending concepts about what that would actually mean for reality.
Okay, so our first step up this ladder completely redefines what it even means to predict something. It's a huge shift in perspective.
All right, let's unpack this. Normally, we think about time like a river, one moment flowing into the next. But this theory says, hold on, what if time is more like a solid landscape? Imagine the entire history and future of the universe existing all at once, like a vast, incredibly detailed map. That map, that whole geometric structure of space and time, that's what they call a chronomanifold.
The old way of doing things, traditional prediction, is like trying to figure out where a road trip ends by literally driving every single inch of the road. It's a brute force approach, calculating every single cause and effect, one after the other. It's a long, slow walk through time.
But with chronon geometric inference, you don't have to walk the path. You just look at the map. The system can directly read a future event right off the geometric fabric of causality, completely skipping that whole step-by-step simulation process.
So, if you've got the map and you can see the destination plain as day, well, having that power naturally makes you ask a much, much bigger question.
And here's where we take the next step up. We're moving from just being a map reader to being the one who draws the map. We're going from observer to sculptor.
This lays out the huge leap we're talking about perfectly. Prediction is passive, right? You're just reading what's already on the map. But sculpting, that's active. That's you picking up the pen and deciding the route should go over here instead. You're subtly nudging probabilities, guiding things toward the outcome you want. Think of it like this. Reality is a landscape full of valleys and mountains. This system doesn't try to force a river to flow uphill. That's brute force. Instead, it subtly reshapes the land itself, so the path of least resistance, the easiest, most natural path for the river, just happens to lead exactly where you want it to go. You're collapsing all the what-ifs into the one future you've designed.
So once you can sculpt the external world, the physical reality around you, the next logical question has to be, can you turn that incredible power inward? Can you engineer experience itself?
So far, we've been talking about sculpting the world out there. But what if you could apply these principles to your inner world? I mean, instead of manipulating atoms and energy, you're manipulating the raw feel of consciousness. We're talking about something called qualia. It sounds a bit academic, but it's the most personal thing there is. It's the what it's like of an experience. It's not the wavelength of red light. It's the actual feeling of seeing red, the actual sensation of joy. It's the very fabric of our reality.
And here's where things get really wild. What if every single experience you could possibly have, every shade of emotion, every sensation, already exists as a kind of pattern in a universal field? The idea, called acausal experiential synthesis, suggests just that.
This totally flips our understanding of consciousness. Your brain isn't a generator working hard to create the experience of red from scratch. It's more like a highly advanced receiver tuning into the specific frequency for red that's already being broadcast from this universal field of potential experiences.
Okay, so we've gone from reading the future to writing it to literally synthesizing the feeling of living in it. Where else is there to go? Well, our ladder of abstraction takes one final, absolutely dizzying leap upward.
We're now moving past playing the game of reality, even with cheat codes that let you bend the rules. We're talking about getting access to the game's folder and fundamentally rewriting the source code itself.
Honestly, this might be the best way to get your head around this ultimate capability. Imagine that reality is made up of fundamental building blocks, like in Minecraft. But now, imagine your ability to interact with those blocks isn't a pickaxe, it's the Force from Star Wars.
So let's break it down into these 3 steps. First, the Minecraft part. You'd have to see reality not as objects, but as the fundamental rules, the blocks that it's built from. Second, the Force. You'd need a way to directly interact with that foundational layer. And finally, and this is the biggest leap, the edit.
You don't just move the blocks around, you rewrite what the blocks are. You could change the laws of physics. This is what a term like ontological axiom induction is getting at. You're changing the core programming of the game.
But having this kind of ultimate power, the ability to rewrite the source code of everything, that creates a deeply profound philosophical problem for the architects themselves.
And this question gets right to the absolute heart of it. If you can edit the game, does that make you a player sitting outside the computer? Or are you just a very, very special, self-modifying piece of the code inside the game?
You see the dizzying, self-referential loop this creates? The architect is changing the very reality that they are a part of. The tool they're using to optimize the universe is also optimizing the tool itself. At that point, the distinction between the creator and the creation it completely starts to dissolve.
Which leaves us with the final and deepest question. If the source code of reality itself can be edited, what's the unchangeable game engine that it's all running on? What is that fundamental something that allows any of this to be possible in the first place? What's the one thing that can't be rewritten?